right, joining me now is Bernard Zapor. He is a special agent with the ATF. John Lott Jr., who is the author of More Guns, Less Crime, and Roland Martin, who, as many of our regular viewers know, has been very impassioned about the gang violence in places like Chicago going on this summer. John, let me start with you. Make the case in a nutshell. More guns, less crime. Counterintuitive to a lot of people watching tonight.
Well, guns make it easier for bad things to happen, but they also make it easier for people to protect themselves and prevent bad things from happening. My research shows that the police are the single most important factor for reducing crime. But if you talk to the police, you'll find that they understand themselves that they virtually always arrive on the scene after the crime's been committed. Look, virtually all of these multiple victim public shootings have occurred in places where guns are banned. And the question that you deal with, we all want to keep guns away from criminals. But when you ban guns, the question is who obeys the laws? And it turns out it's the law-abiding good citizens, not the criminals. And when you have a gun-free zone, it actually serves as a magnet for these attacks. Let me ask you this. Let's suppose a violent criminal, God forbid, was stalking you. Would you feel safer putting a sign up in front of your home that said this home is a gun-free zone? My guess is you wouldn't do that. My guess is even the strongest gun control proponents wouldn't do that. And the answer for why they wouldn't do it is pretty obvious, because a sign like that isn't going to cause the criminal to say, look, I'm not going to attack the person there. The sign actually draws him in because he knows he won't have to worry about somebody stopping. But yet we put those signs up all over the place.
Aaron, I have another sign.
Not in front of your home.
So Bernard,
you never do it in front of your home.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second for both of you, because I just want Bernard, let me ask you to respond to that. If the laws changed and all of a sudden guns weren't available, do you agree with the principle that people would find another way to get them, or would demand drop?
Well, in the United States, these gun control laws, or the first federal firearms laws, were the result of the Valentine's Day Massacre in 1933. There are two sets of firearms laws in the country, one that requires absolute registration, such as machine guns, and one in the normal commerce, Part 1 firearms, that do not. Otherwise, there's a legitimate firearms industry. In the United States today, you also have a gray market that is created by the transaction of guns that take place after the legitimate industry. Regardless, this is a major social issue for this country. And there's a lot of self-responsibility issues when it comes to firearms ownership and use.
Roland, a lot of people would like to say, all right, well, if these sales were happening where Bernard said in the gray area, then we could do something about it. But the recent incidents, including this one, did not happen in the gray area. These were people who were buying guns legitimately and in the open and legally.
And this is why I don't focus simply on this type of incident. Just this weekend, let's go back to Chicago. 29 wounded, 5 people killed. In our country, more than 100,000 people every single year are shot and killed. Now, it's interesting we talk about putting signs up. Here's one of the facts from the Brady campaign that they lay out. Every year, there are only about 200 legally justified self-defense shootings in this country. The problem we have in this country, not just that we're flooding guns in the marketplace, we also have, frankly, a culture that is in love with guns. And so we have what is called, the biblical terms, a generational curse. And it's time for this generation to break that curse. And the last thing we need are more Americans running out, buying up more guns, because all that is going to do is to cause people to pop off a lot faster. They will not think twice, and that's one of the problems that we have. That's the last thing we need.
John, I'm curious as to your response to that. And also, I've always wanted to ask this question of someone with your point of view. Why should a regular citizen have an automatic or semi-automatic weapon?
Well, there's a big difference between an automatic and a semi-automatic weapon. I know the president last week was going out and saying we should only have AK-47s for soldiers. But the thing is that these attacks aren't occurring with automatic machine guns. These are occurring with semi-automatics. These are military-style, civilian versions of these guns. They just look like this on the outside, but they function exactly the same as any rifle. And if you're going to ban all rifles, fine. Go and talk about banning them. But going and picking guns just because they look a particular way doesn't make that much sense. It's responding to the comment that was just made. Look, people use guns defensively about 4 to 5 times more frequently each year than guns are used in the commission of crime. The FBI National Crime Victimization Survey shows that about 400 to 450,000 times each year people use guns to commit crime. But similar surveys show that people use guns about 2 million times.
Would they use them if they weren't
Rarely do
threatened
they
by
have
other
to fire
guns?
the gun.
Aaron, first of all, Aaron, the Brady campaign lays out that guns are used to intimidate and threaten 4 to 6 times more often they're used to thwart crime. Also, a 2009 study found that people in possession of a gun are almost 5 times more likely to be shot in an assault. The point here is not a question of excuse me. I'm citing from the Brady campaign. You take it up with them.
Yeah.
Here's my point, Aaron.
No, but you have to understand where these types of numbers come from.
Allow me to finish. Aaron, we can argue back and forth over a study. This is what we know. We lose billions of dollars every year due to gun violence in this country, and that doctor told you the toll it is taking, so more guns is not the answer.
Look, we've seen what happens when D.C. and Chicago ban guns.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry I have to leave it there, but thanks to all three of you. We appreciate it.